If you've been waiting for one of these conversations to get a little confrontational, well, this might be your week, as I'm going to be fearlessly questioning empty business building with Trent Deardsman, the CEO and founder of Groove Digital Marketing and the host of the Bright Ideas podcast. And I wanted to, or I guess I should say, I asked Trent to be on the show because of one simple exchange on Twitter from a response that I had to him from a income report that he had recently published. Well, this wasn't recently; it was probably back in April that he had published as a result of his online business and his marketing agency. And I've since gone back and tried to find that original article that kind of sparked this little Twitter debate, but I did find it, and let me first set the stage with our conversation on Twitter. And I had basically sent Trent a reply to that. And anybody knows Twitter 140 characters, so it's not easy to get your full coherent point across. And I just basically said to him, there are a lot of I's and my's in this article as opposed to, we's and you's. And Trent asked me if I actually was managing my own Twitter account. Bit of a snarky reply on his part, but I overlooked it. And I said, yeah, that's me. Basically what I meant by that is I heard more talk in that income report and kind of the vision. It was more of an income report / kind of overall vision of the company. And I heard more in that article about what they were hoping to get out of it and what they wanted, as opposed to what they were ultimately going to do for the people they were building this business for. Now, mind you, at the time as well, again, I just stopped by Trent's site, Groove Digital Marketing, and Bright Ideas right before recording this. And one of his big taglines on the site and one of his calls to action was, watch me build my next business to sell for $1.8 million. I don't see that on there today. I'm not going to say that my little conversation with him prompted this change, but it was really based around the idea of him building a company to then sell, and that he was going to be transparent and show the steps and the process along the way. Now, part of me, really appreciates that. I think it's very interesting. It's fascinating on so many different levels. But when I stood back and I thought about it a little bit, I was, thinking about, well, what is this? If I want to do business with this person, what is that saying to me? It's saying that, he's just doing this to ultimately sell it for this amount of money. And does he really care about whatever results I may or may not get from the company? And that's where this whole conversation comes from. And back to the Twitter exchange. So, Trent asked me, if I was writing my own tweets, if I had an intern, which is, which is silly. But I said, yes, I am writing my own tweets. And, once we cleared up that confusion, I went on to explain myself. And I said, it doesn't sound like, there's a lot in it. Or I guess I asked him if if he had any reason other than building the company than to sell it for $1.8 million. And then he responded by saying, is there any other reason? Then I guess he said, do you need any more? You need more than 1.8 million reasons or something like that. And then I eventually, towards the end of the conversation, the back and forth, I used the hashtag empty business building, and I was like, well, let's see if he'll come on and talk about it. And he said yes, and you can hear in his rant, which will go up tomorrow. We really didn't get into that. I really don't know if he remembers. I don't know if he's connected the dots, but I think that story in and of itself is kind of going to tell you everything you need to know about where this conversation is heading and what I hope to get out of it, and where your mind should start to be thinking too. I did have the unexpected pleasure to briefly meet Trent in person. I just got back last week from HubSpot's Inbound 14 conference out in Boston, and I didn't know Trent was going to be there. I was just walking around, and all of a sudden I saw him there standing there having a conversation. He did kind of brush me off a little bit. I'll try really hard not to hold it against him, but he kind of just said, I got to go charge my phone and I'll see you later. And that was about it. So I don't really have any life-altering story or any really sort of story to report from Trent. And mind you, we had just spent about 30 minutes or so that week prior on a quick call to do his prep for the show, to get his rant and to do all that fun stuff. So he was very familiar. He recognized me when I approached him and everything like that. But he just kind of he kind of shooed me away quickly. But that kind of leads me to my little rant for the week and how it kind of relates to empty business building and really just empty objections and really just empty motivation, empty whatever other word you want to put after that. And it comes down to the fact that I was with 10,000-ish of my closest marketing friends this past week, and there's a lot of 20-somethings. It's fun that I can say that now, being 30 years old. A bunch of 20-somethings running around the conference, and I noticed this last year too, and I noticed it really to any of the events that you attend in this industry, is that there's just a ton of people that, and they don't have to be 20-somethings, they can be 30 and 40 and just as clueless, directionless, meaningless as anybody else. But you can spot them a mile away that they're just in the industry because it's kind of hip, it's kind of cool. It's the hipster thing to do, to be in marketing. It's the sexy industry right now, I guess I would say, coming out of college for whatever reason. People might argue with me on that, but just judging by the demographics that I see there, it seems that for whatever reason there's a certain perception about the industry that is appealing to people, and it does have a little bit of a sizzle. And these people are easy to spot. One. Because they just have their laptops out for the whole conference. They're taking pages and pages of notes, which is maybe good. And they're just writing everything down that these speakers that they're listening to. And they're retweeting and they're tweeting, and they're really focused on all this kind of fancy stuff that doesn't matter. They're really focused on all this vanity stuff, all this stuff that really doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. And it's strange to me because I don't know where it comes from. And instead of kind of just taking the whole thing, I get taking the notes thing. I was a terrible note taker, and I'm kind of against it to some aspect. Because when you take so many notes, I mean, you're gonna really, not allow yourself to kind of experience the whole thing. And from what I've learned and from what everybody tells you is that really, I mean, you need to walk away with just a few things. If you have too many, if you have more than a few, then you're gonna get lost. You're not gonna get those things done, and it's just gonna be an overwhelming checklist that you're never gonna accomplish. And chances are it's just gonna be regurgitated verbatim from what that person said and have absolutely no unique spin. Obviously, anyone who's familiar, Austin Kleon, he says, steal like an artist. It won't have any of that theft with an artist's point of view on it. And that is what I think ultimately everybody should be chasing at something like this, where there's just a few days to kind of get away from your daily grind and to really be inspired by other people's thoughts, and to allow your thoughts to kind of go over top of that. Kind of a unique stream of consciousness, an original stream of consciousness to just kind of hover over top of your experience. And the excessive note-taking and all those things, I think, get in the way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a terrible note-taker making an awfully good excuse for not taking notes. I'm very guilty of that on a lot of different levels. And if you want to call me out for it, feel free. If that's what you think's happening, I don't know, but you tell me. But I like to, again, like I said, allow the whole thing to kind of wash over me, and to make sure that the whole time that I am, kind of listening to these different people speak, I'm constantly thinking about how this can be applied to what it is that I do, and how I can take it and push it in a new direction that maybe they haven't even thought to do. And that's what I'm constantly doing. If it looks like I'm sitting there clueless or not doing anything, well, that's normally what's going on inside my head. And those are the people that I run across. And outside of that, the worst part is you hear from a lot of speakers, the best conversations you're going to have are with the people that you meet here at this conference. And yeah, I've made some great friends at some of these events, but ultimately, a majority of the conversations that I have, Now, mind you, I am a health insurance agent by trade, if you will, and when I'm not doing that on the side, I am asking these fearless questions with you guys, and that's really my background as far as marketing and all this fancy stuff is concerned. But after a few minutes of a conversation with the majority of these people that are marketers, these people get paid for people to tell them what to do as far as marketing other companies. It's happened over and over again where it is blatantly apparent that a health insurance agent knows more about marketing than these marketers, and I don't quite get that. That is, I mean, this isn't like a humble brag hashtag whatever, but I think it's just more of an indication of again, what is in it, what is at stake. Being the emptiness. These people are there on their company's dime. This is just a job that they have. There's nothing in it for them. They have no stake in the game. And I think that's the problem. There's no dedication, there's no motivation to push themselves beyond anywhere other than where their current peers are at. And somebody who is out on their own doing this for their family business or just themselves in general is going to be hands down more motivated to get these results. And again, obviously, not everyone's going to have these same ambitions, and that's perfectly fine. But it is just upsetting a little bit because you get trapped in some conversations where you're just like, man, it's time to go do something. I got to go find a cat to like adopt or something. I don't know what, but you come up with something to get out of the conversation. And I don't want to sound like, because I'm really, really close to probably sounding like some arrogant guy that thinks he knows too much. And believe me, if anybody's ever met me, that's not even the case at all. But it is just, it's strange, and I can't quite explain it any other way. And this is the best that I can do right now. But that is, I think, the biggest issue that I have with empty business building, empty doing business, period, empty whatever. It's just it needs something more, and to try and find that. And that's what we're going to get into with Trent in potentially, we'll say, confrontational way. It's probably about the nicest way I could say it. And I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it is constructive and it doesn't get out of control. I'm going to do my best. But it will be interesting. So we will be back this Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, as always, to fearlessly question empty business building, what it means for you, what we can hope to help you get out of it. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Be sure to subscribe to this wherever you're hearing it, to iTunes, Stitcher, also on YouTube. And we will be back with Trent's Rant tomorrow. Take it easy.